Good morning, everybody. The iconic numbers in Philadelphia sports. Number 1, number 3, number 20, number 34. There are so many of them. I got a special guest, Chris Romanelli, the most famous Eagles season ticket holder there is. And he brought up an interesting question. Has number 3, Bryce Harper, Allen Iverson, surpassed number 20, Mike Schmidt, Brian Dawkins, in the hierarchy of Philly sports? He's going to join us soon in the next 5 or 6 minutes. Trending in the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front. And Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM, right here on DSM Media. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. Make sure you do me that favor. Hit that like and that subscribe button on the DSM Media YouTube page. Still stuck on that 666 subscribers. Get that number up to 667 or 668. I can't have it anymore. We're going to be talking numbers today all day long. So let's get off that 666 subscriber. I am your host, Phil Stiefel, host of Trending in the AM right here. And we got a special guest. He's already ready to go in the I Have No Sponsor hotline here. My main man, Chris Romanelli, number one most famous Eagles fan there is out there.
I don't know about that, but I'll take you.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing today?
Good, and yourself?
Oh, fantastic. Great to have you on. Chris, you are awesome. I love you, man. I love all your Eagles stuff that you put out online. And you came up with a really interesting question on your Facebook page the other day. And I'm like, dude, this is a topic for a show right here, especially with everything that's going on in Philly sports right now. And you're the one, so I don't take credit for other people's ideas. Has number 3 surpassed number 20? And there's some legendary numbers out there. But with what Bryce Harper's doing and with Allen Iverson in that number 3 category, I know you knew as soon as you said this would trigger some people.
Yeah.
Surpassed number 20. And I'll be honest, maybe it's a little bit of bias because of how the Phillies are doing. But I'm right there thinking that number 3 is past number 20 at this point.
It's close. The 20 has three championships though.
It does.
Because if you forget, Doug Collins is 20.
Oh wow, I wasn't even thinking of that. I'm sitting here trying to count how many titles Mike Schmidt has in my head, and I'm like, how did you get 3 there? And
Am I right? Doug Collins has a title, right?
I don't know. I didn't even know he was number 20. Look, see, this is funny to me because this topic I think is really interesting, but numbers don't normally do anything to me.
Like, see, I'm just the opposite. I'm like a numbers junkie when it comes to
you're also you probably have how many football jerseys and jerseys in general. I mean, like when the Philly Eagles signed AJ Brown or the Phillies signed Bryce Harper, I'm like, oh, what number are they going to wear? It doesn't normally mean anything to me.
Right.
I tend to lean towards the iconic moments from the players' careers as something that I remember more. You could probably name 5 athletes currently on Philadelphia sports teams right now, and if you eliminated, say, the Jalen Hurts or the Bryce Harper, I would probably not know the number of 3 or 4 of the 5.
Interesting, because now I love the numbers that the players wear. This changed in the NFL with just odd numbers has drove me nuts for 2 years. So, but
wide receivers have to be in the 80s. Offensive.
No, I like the teens.
Yeah,
but the I love Reddick. I'm a Temple alum, but that's 7 on a defensive lineman. I'm just like I just can't. So no, Doug hasn't won an NBA title. I just looked it up, but he does have his number retired by the Sixers.
Okay, all right, but see the thing is, so like you look at 20, and it's obviously Doug Collins. I mean, he's a legend to the deeper dive NBA fans, and
right.
He obviously was a coach here for a little while. It's still all about Schmidt and Dawkins versus.
Oh yeah. Nobody ever even thinks of Collins.
But see the thing is, so like I think people put Brian Dawkins up on this pedestal a little bit ahead of Allen Iverson, and I think that's a wrong. I think actually, in my opinion, Allen Iverson is equal to, if not more, to Brian Dawkins, because neither won a title. But I
Right,
think
right.
Allen Iverson influenced not just the sport, the growth of the sport, the culture in general in life. Allen
Hmm.
Iverson was so influential. You go to China or somewhere in Europe and you ask them who Allen Iverson or Brian Dawkins is, they're going to know Allen Iverson probably more times than not out over Brian Dawkins.
Sure, sure. And Bryce Harper is he's been in he's he's been around since he's 15.
Yeah.
And they're now saying like he's come full circle. That's why I thought of it. I'm like, we think of Dawkins with a title because of the 2017 team,
Mm,
but he didn't win a title as a player,
he
and
never.
sometimes we forget that.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought of it. I'm like, if Harp to me, it's Harp.
If Harper wins the World Series this year, does that put him over it?
I think it, and we have to be clear here because one person said, "How can you put Harper above Schmidt?" I'm not saying Harper's above Schmidt. I'm saying the overall number combined of these players. I think the answer is yes.
See,
And
I don't
I
even think a title is necessary because I think about it. First off, I think of the iconic moments, but I also think of like with Allen Iverson outside of the sport itself, but also how they interact with fans. I mean, you're a little bit older than me, not by much, but Mike Schmidt wasn't the most fan friendly, fan interaction, energetic, energy guy there was. Bryce Harper, to me, when you think of Philadelphia and who the people of Philadelphia are, Bryce Harper kind of envelopes that like opinion of what we think of ourselves and who we are. He
mhm.
is a Philadelphian. Mike Schmidt, for as much as he still sticks around into the city, I mean, he didn't really embody himself to the fans as much as Bryce Harper does.
No, 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 not at all. But he also there wasn't social media. There was no chance.
That's
Not
true.
that he does it, because he just does it like you don't see him as much on social media as some
Right.
players. But the way sports is covered nowadays, it's not the curmudgeonal man that's just covering the sport at all times like it was
Yeah.
when I grew up. It's not the love Stan Hochman, all
Just
those guys, but
waiting for the Daily News, not the
right,
Daily
right,
Times.
right.
I was the Delco Times guy growing up.
Me too. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
excuse
what
me.
we got in Delco, the Delco Times, and I forget who were the big guys back. I know Jack
Jack
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey.
He was one of the big guys that wrote sports back then in the late '80s, early '90s that I remember reading. But just waiting for that back page article. That was the goal. But even
Right,
then, you didn't get a lot of quotes from Mike Schmidt. You didn't
right.
get a
No,
lot of interviews from Mike Schmidt back then.
no. I was at the game, and unfortunately, because we were running late, was the wig and the mask game where he came out with
Okay.
the wig and the glasses. I was at that game. He was not. You're right. Mike Schmidt became more endeared after 1980 and after he retired and after
Yeah.
he cried retiring. It surprised me when he became a broadcaster. So
Right.
yeah, it's a
Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, even as a broadcaster, I mean, he has great insight, but his personality's not there. And that's kind of why I put getting to the World Series for Bryce Harper up there almost equal to Mike Schmidt because it's also the home runs, what he's done in the playoffs, and just
mhm.
like the way he's carried this team. I mean, getting this team to the World Series, a team that nobody, I think a lot of people expected 1980 Phillies to go to the World Series. I mean, it was pretty much expected that they would make a run that year.
Right.
The Phillies team kind of teetered on the brink of collapse this year.
Sure.
So, in my opinion, number 3 already outranks number 20.
S-
I know it's
The only
unpopular opinion.
reason for me it doesn't yet, it doesn't have a title.
I know.
It doesn't have it's got two league championships, Iverson and now Harper.
Right.
It doesn't have a title.
Are there any other people that have worn number 3 that are anywhere famous in Philly? I couldn't find anybody off the top of my head.
Mark Sanchez was the best I got. But I did do a little deep dive into some numbers.
Yeah.
So like sort of like your Mount Rushmore. So 20's on
Yeah.
there. Number one's got Richie Ashburn, Bernie Perrant, and now Jalen.
And you missed one.
What did I miss?
James Harden as
Oh,
well.
I was putting hard. Yeah, I was Harden this
You gotta
morning. I was thinking about it.
I saw your deep dive, and I thought number 1 is the closest to 3 and 20 in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what one is big is 10.
Yeah.
Dalton,
Yep.
Larry Boa, Deshaun Jackson, Mo Cheeks,
Yeah.
John LeClaire.
It's a fan. I mean, Deshaun Jackson would probably be the least on that list in my opinion, but
Right.
Dalton just for the leadership aspect and the fan love. Larry
but
Bell, obviously the World Series. Mo
it's got
Cheek.
it's got 2 titles.
Yeah.
With,
It's got borderline Hall of Famers.
yeah.
I mean, it's got Mo Cheeks, who is in the Hall of Fame.
And
Mo
it's
Cheeks is
retired.
probably Mo
And it's
Cheeks is probably
retired.
the most, yeah, Mo Cheeks is probably one of the most underrated Philly athletes of all time. People don't realize how big he was. Oh, hold on. We got more access to number 20. Freddie Defo jumping in. Bernie wore number 20 his first run as a Flyer.
Did he really?
I mean, I'm gonna trust Freddie. Freddie's a good
Yeah,
guy. I'm not gonna fact check that, but that might bump number 20
that
over.
might
number
bump
20
20 out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
wow.
was a wee bit of a youth in
Bernie's also in that category of fan friendly. I remember I was at a Flyers game once a few years back, and
especially with the lady folk.
oh yeah. Well, this was not that kind of a story, but
right.
I was at the Flyers game and I walked through the store, the Flyers store in the Wells Fargo Center, and he was there with one of his granddaughter. I'm assuming it was a granddaughter. It was a young girl, and they were just walking around. And I looked at my buddy. I'm like, "Yo, I think that's Bernie Perrant." He looked at me, put up his finger, and went shh, and like he didn't want to be bothered.
Right.
And then so I just left him alone. And then like 2 or 3 minutes later, he thank you for like giving me my space. Do you want to snap a quick picture? So I snapped a quick picture with him. I'm like, thank you, whatever. Like, he didn't have to do that. But he was trying to go incognito. He had a hat pulled down and stuff like that. So Bernie Perrant is a super awesome dude as well.
Right. Yeah, he is. He certainly is. And I mean, he's still active in the community today. I mean, they've been near 50 years of not winning a title, and he's still beloved. So, by the way, here's another one. There's 4 numbers that are retired by multiple teams. 20 is one of them.
Yeah.
The others are 1, 2, 20, and one's right over your right shoulder.
Number 34. Absolutely.
Yeah. So where does 30? Barkley and Halladay. See, to me that it drops because they were just not here long enough.
Yeah. See, 34, like Roy Halladay, he gets it because of he gets a lot of love because of how great he was in a short span, and the no-hitter in the playoffs and the perfect game. But to me, he was not here. Barkley was here long enough to an extent, but Halladay was not here. I like your research on number 11. Jimmy Rollins.
we have J-Roll and never mind.
No. See, you know what?
I'm just kidding.
With Carson Wentz, where because of what has happened the last couple of years with him off the team, that I'm over all that.
Yeah, no, that was a joke.
I can look back on 2017 and say we won't win that Super Bowl without Carson Wentz. He deserves his proper place now. 2 years later, I'm almost. If he retires in the next couple of years, I can't wait to break my Carson Wentz jersey out and wear it again because I will wear it again someday.
Well, mine is still hanging on the wall, and people have given me a hard time. But why is it staying up on the wall? Well, first off, it's signed by a bunch of players, so
okay.
But he was part of that Super Bowl run, and we don't get there with him.
Exactly, he wasn't part of it. He was a massive part of that Super Bowl run. Let's not understand. He was the MVP of the league that year before he got hurt.
Oh, sure.
So if he does not get hurt, do we win the Super Bowl? I don't know. We probably make a deep run, probably, but you can't. At this point, it's been 2 years since he's been gone. It's been a few years since he's fallen apart here.
Right.
Let's move on and just accept the fact that he's a big part of Philadelphia sports history now.
Absolutely.
So I would put 11 above 34.
Yeah, because he also has Norm Van Brocklin.
Yeah. Rod Brindamore is my favorite Flyer when I was a kid growing up as well. So I'm a big Rod Brindamore fan. So
and I didn't put he was 18, right?
Who?
Brindamore's 18. Brindamore's 18.
Oh, I thought you had him under 11 there.
No. Oh well, no. Richards was 18. Brindamore was 17. Oh. So he's under Carmichael.
Oh, there's just no number.
You know what? I didn't put 17. That's my.
Dude, your notes are so. Did you not spell check your list here?
No, I did not. So Carmichael and Brindamore.
That's 17. How little I know about numbers. I'm trusting that you got Brindamore under 11 and that he's number 11. That's how little I know about numbers.
Mark Recchi wore 11 for a while.
I mean, he had 2 good runs here in Philly.
So what is? I sent you a little Mount Rushmore picture. What is the Mount Rushmore of
Philly sports
numbers?
Oh, of numbers. Well, it's definitely 1, 3, and 20. They're 100% no doubt about it in my mind.
Yes.
After
what is the
that,
4?
it's either 10.
See,
It's
I
tough,
put
man.
10. I put 10.
10's probably it. Now, if Brindamore was under number 11, I would have thrown 11.
Right. I'm looking at my notes. I did that
Yeah.
at like what did I do that at like 11 o'clock last night? I'm like, I need to make some
No,
notes on this.
just to be devil's advocate to your 10. We skipped right over number 6.
Yeah,
Dr. J, Ryan Howard, Devontae Smith, who's still very young.
very young.
You know,
Savraka.
see, I wouldn't have known that was his number. I'm not going to fact check you on that one either.
Yeah, no. So
Dr. J and Ryan Howard. I mean, Ryan Howard an MVP, Dr. J a champion, Ryan Howard a champion. You got multiple titles.
yeah, well,
And
look at
multiple
2.
appearances.
Here's another one people forget about. 2. We have Moses and Markel.
Yeah.
Akers and Slay.
Yeah.
Rico
I mean,
Bronya.
Akers, I mean, is a kicker. It's not really an athlete. We're talking about athletes here.
Rico Bronya.
Rico Bronya. Love Rico Bronya.
I can throw the old numbers at you like there's no.
See, I could throw you the old numbers. I can tell you the players, what years they played, and the stats and the things about them and memories. But I remember the first game I went to when in the Rico Bronya era. We'll call it the Rico Bronya era. It was a Phillies Mets game, and he used to play for the Mets. And the Mets fans were all over him at the vet that day, all over him, heckling him. I'm like, how can you hate Rico Bronya? He's got the coolest name.
I was just gonna say he's got the coolest name ever.
Yeah, and I could just hear Harry Callis saying Rico Bronya. So yeah.
And I took another one and I put it there on the bottom. I don't know if you saw it. Iconic numbers. It's just you say the number you think of the player. It's not one or multiple. Like you say 20, you're gonna say Schmidt and Dawkins. You say 1, you got you say 3, Allen Iverson, Harper. But you say 9, what do you think of?
See, 9's the one I'm struggling on. I got something for all the others, but 9, Nick Foles. Oh, duh.
Foles.
What the hell am I thinking about here? Why did it take me? See, again, numbers are not my thing. So
12, you got 12. Who's 12?
Randall Cunningham.
Here you go. 16. Let's see if you struggle with this one.
Yeah, I'm struggling there.
Bobby Clark.
Bobby Clark. Yeah.
55.
Yeah, Brandon Graham, obviously. Kelsey.
Kelsey. Reggie.
Yep.
The one I struggled with being iconic was 99 because of Mitch Williams. But 99's Jerome.
I just went right to Jerome Brown. I didn't even think
of
it.
And that's why I put it on. But I find those numbers iconic.
Number 2, Eddie Van Impe and the check heard around the world against the Russians in '76. I guess. Sorry, again, can't. I wasn't born in '76. There for Eddie.
I was 4, so.
So you're 4. So you're 4 years older than me. There we go. Now we know how old you are on this.
Yeah,
show.
I know.
I think this is a very interesting and fun topic here because there is no right or wrong.
No, there's no. And like I said, the one person you can't put Harper over Schmidt. Not putting Harper over Schmidt. It's just that there's number 20 has three numbers that are retired. I mean,
what is this? Bryce Harper's 4th year in Philly?
Yes.
If he wins the World Series, and I'm not predicting that the Phillies are going to win. I mean, we'll get to my predictions on Friday's show, but if he wins a World Series in his 4th year here in Philly, and because of all the other aspects, why I already put him ahead of Schmidt, would that at least put him equal to Schmidt in your mind? Even though it's only been 4 years here in Philly, knowing you still got 8 more years or 9 more years of him in Philly anyway with that contract.
Schmidt won 3 MVPs here.
He did. He's won 1 and 1 NLCS MVP, Bryce Harper. He was on a track to be at least in contention this year before he got hurt.
Sure. He is. I
just think of the impact he has on the team, the impact he has, in the community with the fans, the way the fans love him so much more than Mike. I think one title, like to me, he's already equal, but one title should put him in everybody's mind equal there with Mike Schmidt. I know Mike Schmidt's the greatest third baseman of all time, probably, but Bryce Harper's just influence overall, I think, is so much greater that you might be right. It might be a social media influence kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd say Harper is the more influential Philly. Baseball was still kind of king back in that Schmidt era, where Bryce is kind of bringing baseball back to Philadelphia after the 08 team run, that run. Baseball was kind of dull here for a while. And even the sport
Yeah.
itself has taken it. It's not the sport it was in the late 70s, early 80s. It was baseball, football, and it
Yeah.
might have been more baseball then.
I mean, I know basketball isn't like number one to you, but number 21 with Joel Embiid. I know you got Eric Allen, Bobby Taylor, Bake McBride. Can Joel Embiid get 21 on that Mount Rushmore? Or is it title without a title? I don't know.
That number's not even brought up without Joel Embiid. If you look at 21, exactly. And now I'm being a little biased because Eric Allen's my favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
So
why is he not in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. His numbers are better than I don't know. But that number is not even on this list. Mm-hmm. It's Joel Embiid, and these guys were pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, and
I mean, you got to put Eric Allen on it, but Eric Allen doesn't have those other things we're talking about, the outside influences, the social media, or the culture. He wasn't a cultural icon.
If Joel wasn't on this list, I wouldn't have put 21 on here.
Okay. He's the with Eric Allen part of it.
Even with Eric Allen, because if Eric Allen makes the Hall of Fame, it's just on I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's still borderline Hall of Fame. Even as a Hall of Famer, he's
the back end of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's a cornerback who was part of an iconic defense, but he could never carry a team. Reggie White carries a team. Mike Schmidt carries a team. Those Hall of Famers carry teams. Eric Allen never would carry a team. Harper carries a team.
He was just one of the best at his position.
Right.
Instead of, like Brian Dawkins, wasn't just the best at his position. He was an icon in the sport.
Right.
And like that.
He was the team leader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
but Joel Embiid is all those other things.
Right.
You just said, he might not ever get that title. We don't know. But does he need a title to validate that number as something important? You put Eric Allen in the Hall of Fame eventually, and Joel Embiid without a title, but in the NBA Hall of Fame,
Joel Embiid hasn't even reached the Eastern Conference Final.
He hasn't. He hasn't won the MVP yet. He hasn't won. He hasn't won any awards outside of some Player of the Week and Player of the Month awards.
Right.
But he's this larger than life figure.
Right. Sports has changed where that is part of it.
Yeah, I really think so. And I go back to number one, Jalen Hurts. I'm just hoping Jalen Hurts becomes the best number one in Philadelphia sports history.
Absolutely. So he wins the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
Does number one? Where does that put one?
See that? Well, it will definitely solidify it in that Mount Rushmore for sure.
Sure.
The problem with number one is most of the people that are on social media, most of the people that are going to interact with the show and discuss this topic, never saw Bernie Perrant play, never saw Richie Ashburn play.
Right.
So that's going to be the track. Like Jalen Hurts will be known as the most famous number one, even though he really isn't. You know what I mean?
And the funny thing is, most that are watching the show probably even never heard Richie Ashburn broadcast a game.
I was just going to bring that up. I know Richie Ashburn is part of the best duo calling baseball games.
Right.
Best trio if you want to throw Andy Musser in there because he was part of that team as well.
His buried it call was amazing. Andy Musser.
Yeah, I just loved the images of Harry and him with the cigar, the Jack Daniels and whatnot, and it was a different time calling baseball games back then.
Which goes back to what Mike Schmidt was about too.
Yeah,
those guys weren't going to push Schmidt the way Scott Fransky has his call shown on social media, which was amazing.
Excellent call. It's still one of my biggest beefs with all of sports, and I know it's TV. I know it'll never change. It's money, but the fact that local announcers don't get to call the playoffs or championship rounds in any sports,
right?
It really bothers me because they know. I've suggested before that these national broadcast networks, Fox for the World Series, they should have one Philly, whether it's Tom McCarthy or Ruben Amaro or whoever, one from Houston, and then you can have your one Fox guy calling it down the line if you want to.
Or you could always
have a local guy that knows the team, because you could tell in all these sports that the national guys don't follow these other teams, day in and day out.
Well, and I'm not a big NCAA basketball fan, but they have they'll broadcast a game. One channel is the local Villanova. One channel is the whoever Villanova is playing. Then there's the national broadcast. I would love for them to simulcast.
And with with the money these networks are making, they can absolutely do it.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to John Smoltz. John Smoltz hasn't watched many. He's watched more playoff games with the Phillies this year than he did the last 2 years without it. So you could tell.
Right.
You could tell that these guys, I get over the biased opinions. When an announcer has a biased opinion towards a team, whatever. But what I don't get over is the lack of knowledge of what's going on with the team. So the broadcasting aspect of that really, really the fact that Richie Ashburn didn't get to call a World Series game or Harry Kalas. I mean, you heard him call the '08 World Series, but it was on the radio.
Right.
Tom McCarthy. I mean, he deserves a right to call a World Series game.
Sure,
but he's regulated to doing sideline reporting for pre and post game show right now.
Right, and that's it. It would make it that much better.
It's extremely unfortunate. All right, real quick, this number story has been really great, but you mentioned Jalen Hurts' name, and I got you on, so I got to ask you a couple Eagles quick questions here. First and foremost, what you're at every home game?
Yes,
you'll be there on Sunday.
I will
sitting there repping as always.
My daughter will be at her first game as a 21-year-old with me.
Wow. Yeah. What's going to happen in that tailgate?
I don't know.
You don't want to know?
I don't want to know.
What's the vibe inside that stadium right now? How is the vibe feeling with a 6-0 Eagles team at this point, as the season ticket holders and the people that are there every single week?
It's 2017-ish.
Yeah, that's the vibe I get sitting at home.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're going through this. I'm like, yeah, let's get the number one seed. If we do not get the number one seed now, it's a disappointment. Wow. That's minimum what the Eagles have to do for the season not to be disappointed. You have to be the number one. The only way it's not a disappointment and not getting the number one seed is if you do go back to the Super Bowl. But they have to have the number one seed.
Okay. That's great, because that really ties into what I've been talking about with the Phillies for like the last month now. Expectations. We have expectations before a season, but when a season starts, expectations change. The Eagles being 6-0 right now have changed the expectations for this team going forward. No longer is 11-6 in the 3 seed is not an acceptable outcome at this point.
I said 11-7 this year. If they go 11-7 this year, that means, what did they do in the second half? That means they went
5-6.
Yeah, it's not acceptable at this point.
That would be what happened. Like, I had 11-6 as well. I had them as the number 2 or 3 seed. I thought the Bucks and the Packers were right there with them. Obviously, the Bucks and the Packers are no competition for them. The Giants and the Cowboys are the biggest competition at this point in the NFC.
And we already beat one of them. And we already beat one of them at home.
Exactly. So, at this point, excuse me, we control our own destiny there. Expectations change very easily with this team, with all teams, and they've set a new goal. And coming out of the bye against Pittsburgh and then Houston on short rest, I mean, I joked, I predicted 11-6, Chris.
Yeah, that's what I did. I said 11-7, but it's 11-6. You're right.
Then at the end of that episode, I went through the schedule and realistically found a way, and I have it still written here, where they go 15-2. I'm like, I can convince myself that this is a 15-2 team, but I won't say it. I won't predict it because that'll make me sound like a
Eagles fan. I can always come up with a 15-2 season.
So my notepad's sitting somewhere here on my desk. I don't know. My desk is so messed up here right now. But expectations changing. 6-0. I mean, are you even remotely concerned Sunday going up against Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Not as much as I normally am. There's always that way, but there's no reason that they should lose to this team.
No,
this defense should stifle a rookie quarterback in his third or fourth start at most.
Yeah, and the guy that's thrown how many interceptions so far in his short amount of time? I mean, this should be a field day.
You know what worries me? Honestly, what worries me is not that Hurts gets injured, but and it's the right thing to do. The being very, very cautious with the concussion and that happening at the wrong time. Because he runs, and he'll run 17 times a game. And if he even gets knocked in the head or gets a little as he walks up, they're pulling him from that game.
Yeah.
That's a great point. The deeper we get, that's what worries me. It's he goes into the line of scrimmage, he gets up a little bit slower, and they pull him. And he's out.
One guy from Dallas to ring down to those referees and say, yo, I think you should pull him. I think I saw something.
Right. And that is my worry. It's not his
That's an
play.
extremely valid concern, and
It,
it's something that
it's
I'm going to continue to talk about. I hadn't even thought about it in that way, so that's definitely something that
well. Look at
should concern any team.
after
Without
Tua got hit. That hit that Hurts took against the Jets in the preseason.
Mhm.
I don't know that they let him back in the game.
No, probably not.
That's how it swung since. Now that happens in the divisional round. There's my worry.
Yeah, that's why we've been talking about since last year about protecting him, running him less. I mean, you're never going to take the running game and the running aspect away from Jalen Hurts,
And I think
but
he's a smart runner.
he is a smart runner. He's not who was it that couldn't slide? Was it Michael Vick that
Michael
couldn't
Vick. He
slide?
didn't know how to
Yeah,
slide.
he took lessons from baseball players and still couldn't figure out. It's not like that. He at least knows how to protect himself, Jalen Hurts. But it's those quarterback draws up the middle. It's those design runs to the outside where you're getting hit back by safety.
It's the cheap shot going to the sideline to get out of bounds.
Yeah, and the other team is thinking that
Sure.
their best chance is getting him out of the game.
You don't think if Shaq Barrett would take a shot at him in a playoff game to get him out?
100%. What's his name? Jadeveon Clowney? You don't think he's going to take a cheap shot at somebody?
He would never hit a quarterback in the head.
No, never. Never once. I've never seen him do it before, ever.
No.
No, not at all. Yeah. All right. So I got one final question for you here. And this is something I talked about yesterday. I don't know if it was yesterday. One day this week I talked about it when I was talking Sixers. Just ballpark idea here. It's not going to happen. But say the Eagles lose on Sunday. Just say they do. Will it be ignored? And can you like the Phillies and what they're doing right now is kind of like glossing over everything else that's happening, not just in sports, in the world, in Philadelphia right now. Can we get past it? Like, say the Phillies go to Houston this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and they split 1-1 in Houston, which would be an amazing feat to even win one against a baseball team that hasn't lost yet in the playoffs. But then the Eagles lose. Will Monday morning's story be talking about the 1-1 Phillies in the World Series or the fact that the Eagles lost? Because to me, it would be I look at the Sixers. They finally won the other day, but they were 0-3, and one of those losses came against a really bad Spurs team.
Right.
But no one seemed to care because we're riding high this Phillies momentum, and I think it's kind of pushing any of the other sports negatives off to the side a little bit.
Nothing can push the Eagles off to not caring about a loss. The only way it's really, really, really not looked at is if the Phillies go 2-0 in Houston.
Okay, so they need to go 2-0 in Houston for that.
For that to be the case, for the game for a loss to be blown off, it has to be 2-0. Not, I was thinking maybe 1-1. It would have to be 2-0. Now, if the Eagles were 3-3, it wouldn't matter as much.
It'd be all Phillies then. But because we're 6-0,
6-0,
expectations have changed.
They're 6-0 with a 5-1 team sitting right behind them.
Jalen Hurts gets hurt in the game, and Gardner Minshew can't rally the troops or whatever. I'm trying to think of a way, because me and Mark Muscatelli, who's on the show sometimes with me, he always talks about this is a baseball town. People just don't realize it because the baseball team is always so bad. And you see how this city is showing up and showing out and showing their appreciation for this team. I don't know. You're going to see a lot of Phillies jerseys in those stands on Sunday. A lot of Phillies jerseys. And
right. It's allowed.
And it's allowed?
And it's allowed.
Why was it not allowed before or something?
But you don't wear your other team jersey to the Eagles game.
Oh, sorry. I guess that's why I got booed a few times in the past.
Yeah. But no, you can wear you can rep some Phillies while they're in the World Series.
And how about in your section though? Is it going to be allowed in your section? I know you're the captain.
Absolutely.
You'll be okay with it?
Yeah, I'm a 4-for-4, 5-for-5 guy. Even though.
What if somebody shows up into your section wearing a Phillies jersey with Hector Neris's name on the back of it, who plays for the Houston Astros right now?
Who the heck would have a Phillies Hector? I mean, it must be Mr. and Mrs. Neris who are still living in Philadelphia.
Excuse me. I saw somebody rocking a Phillies jersey for somebody. I forget, a picture on social media who it was. But it was somebody that played for the Phillies in it was like a John Lieber type jersey or something.
Right.
Some no name from a bad team. Dude, What do you, that's a violation rocking that jersey during the World Series run at this point.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm just thinking of like what's the violation there? But Hector
There we
Harris.
go. And by the way, JT number 10. There's another number 10 for our Mount Rushmore.
Let's throw that. Hold on. Let me look at this list now again. Darren Dalton and JT.
Well, they would have three Phillies wearing 10 would be.
Here's an interesting one. We win the World Series, which again, not predicting they will, but we win the World Series.
I am.
You are predicting? Okay. Well, I was going to ask you before I let you sign off your predictions. JT wins the World Series like you're predicting. Does he overtake Darren Dalton? He's a better catcher. He's a better hitter, better defensive catcher, better everything, and gets the title. But Darren Dalton is still a legend because of his leadership ability. Does he overtake Darren Dalton?
With the men, yes. With the women 40 and over, no.
And there's some women that think JT's a pretty good-looking guy.
Yeah, talk to my wife.
I got a guy that comes into my pizza shop all the time, Dave, and he is a massive Darren Dalton fan. He's got his mural tattooed on him. He is literally, it's his idol. It's him and then God. And that's literally how high ranking he puts Darren Dalton. And there's a lot of people like that. So I think
Darren Dalton is in my top. Like my favorite Phillies are Manny Trio, Mike Schmidt, Darren Dalton. I was a catcher and I preferred batting left-handed. So that's what he was.
This guy, Dave, is a catcher as well. He still plays in some adult over 40 leagues and wears that number 10 in honor of him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I put JT over Darren Dalton if he wins the title, though, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sure
So,
gets it.
so you got the Phillies beating the Houston Astros. And
I do.
This is not a homerish pick. This is, you really
no.
figured this out.
And they're not good at home in the playoffs, in the World Series. And Verlander, I heard the stat this morning, in his 7 World Series starts is 0-6 with a 5+ ERA.
It's either 5.68 or 5.86. I tried to write it down. I forgot to. Yeah.
And this morning, I'm like, they're winning this thing.
It's going to be tough. We absolutely, no doubt about it, have to take one in Houston. I almost feel like we have to take both games in Houston to have a chance.
Yeah.
Because your 3 and 4 starters are way better than our 3 and 4 starters. Our 1 and 2 match up with their 1-2 a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to hope that Aaron Nola comes out and out pitches Justin Verlander.
You got to hope that this place is an absolute maniacal zoo on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week.
7-0 in the playoffs this year, but they've never played in front of a crowd like the Phillies yet this year.
How many road games have they played?
How many road games? Well, they swept both series. They've played 3 road series. 1 in the first round, which I don't even know who they knocked out in the first round.
Seattle?
Was it Seattle? I'm not sure, but Seattle.
Well, they got the bye. Did they get the bye?
Yeah, they had the bye, and then they played. So they played the NLDS. They had best of 5, and they won all 3 of those games. So they won 1 road game there, and then they played 2 at Yankee Stadium. And my sister-in-law was at Game 4 of the Yankee Stadium, and she got 2 tickets for $30.
Oh wow!
Because they were already down 3-0 in the series, and the Yankee fans had already given up.
Yeah,
she said it was rainy, and they were $30 for 2 tickets to an NLCS game at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah,
could you imagine?
No.
Even if the Phillies are down 3-0, Game 4 tickets will not be $30. No chance in the world. Which actually, where's my phone? Let me check my Yahoo account. Make sure to see if I got my email yet from the Phillies about.
Apparently, that is Saturday. I thought it was today. It's Saturday.
What? The emails going out?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought it was today too, but yeah, there's no emails from Phillies on my Yahoo account.
I could have bought tickets to last Sunday's game this past Sunday because I have the Eagles account or the Phillies account, and I didn't do it. I didn't pull the trigger. My daughter turned 13, and I worked Friday night, Saturday night. You know my profession, so I promised my daughter a day.
DJ of the Stars right here, Chris Romanelli.
Oh, and by the way, yes, I know Robin sang the original version of Dancing on My Own. The 72 emails and text messages that I get, that's not the song the Phillies play. So I'm not playing. The Robin version is great, but not for this run. So I had to get that out there. Yes, I know. For all you that are sending me, Robin originally done it. I know. I know.
The life of a DJ right there, right?
Yeah, I knew the song long before they even knew what it was. So yes, I know.
All right, so you got Phillies winning. How many games does it take for the Phillies to beat the Astros?
6.
Phillies in 6. Right now on the DSM Media YouTube page, which you all make sure you like, you subscribe to, there is a poll, and you can vote on the results of the series. And right now, Phillies in 6 or 7 has over 50% of the votes right now.
I have
So
no idea how, but they're going to do it.
All right. They got to take 1-2 in Houston, Chris. No doubt about
to.
it. And the Eagles, you got no doubt that the Eagles win on Sunday, correct?
I always have a little bit of doubt because that's just me. But I'm going to go with 28-7.
Okay. 28-7 Eagles. Phillies in 6. Tomorrow on the show, I'll have Neil Coulong. He covers the Steelers out there in Pittsburgh for the NFL Wire. I already started chit-chatting a little on the side with him before tomorrow, and he is not confident in the Steelers on Sunday whatsoever. He's got a very negative feeling that the Eagles are going to romp the Steelers on Sunday. So stay tuned to tomorrow's show, everybody, for that great interview. Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on. I think this is a great topic. I love this topic of the numbers and the hierarchy and the Mount Rushmores and stuff like that.
You know why? Because it's just fun. There's no
this week's whole show. Like, we could talk Sixers for 45 minutes each day leading up to these games, and after you get off in a second, I'll preview tonight's game for 5 or 10 minutes. But dude, I'm still riding high from Sunday.
Sure.
My wife still doesn't understand why I cry when the Phillies do things like this.
Yeah,
she just doesn't understand. Like, tears. I was at a restaurant, a nice fancy restaurant, and there were tears coming down my eyes. She just doesn't understand. This week's been a big celebration. So this kind of conversation is great, leading into this World Series here. So love it. Again, guys, follow Chris Romanelli, Chris Rome 731. Again, 731, the section at the vet, correct?
That is right. 731, my original section.
I knew that one. I love the 731 right there, man. Thank you very much for coming on this morning, Chris.
You got it.
Thanks. All right, that was Chris Romanelli right there. The most famous Eagles season ticket holder there is right now. Real quick, this show today is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Multiple award-winning barbers and B&O to handle any style, cut, adult or kid. Quick video here of the great work. And we are back here, trending in the AM right here on DSM Media, live again on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Make sure you do us a favor, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button on the DSM Media YouTube page. We'd greatly appreciate it. I am Phil Stoffel. Again, special shout out and thank you to Chris Romanelli for joining me. Great topic. 3 or 20. What is the better number, the hierarchy of numbers in Philly sports history? Allen Iverson and Bryce Harper versus Brian Dawkins and Mike Schmidt. Hit me up on Twitter, @BeardandKnowledge, with your thoughts on this, man. I love to keep this conversation going. And does it take, if Bryce Harper gets a World Series, does that put them over the top? I don't know. I already think it's over the top because of their outside influences. I think it's a great topic. And Chris is great on Facebook. He's got the Fly Eagles Fly, or the Watch Eagles Watch. I don't know. He's got a Facebook page as well that's the Eagles dedicated. Great guy. So real quick, 2-3 minutes here. Sixers play the Raptors. They got their first win against Indy the other night. Surprisingly, they are a favorite. Excuse me, I'm battling a little cough this morning. They're the favorites in Toronto tonight on the first half of a back-to-back in Toronto. Which I said before, there's a lot of back-to-backs in cities this year on the schedule for the NBA and for the Sixers. Not back-to-back nights, just back-to-back games in Toronto. The Toronto Raptors are 2-2. They've played 4 really close games. They haven't blown anybody out. They haven't lost by big in either of their 2 losses. They've got 7 guys scoring double-figure points. They got 2 guys, double-digit rebounds. They've got Patrick Siakam, who leads the way, 26.5, 10 rebounds, almost 7 assists. Dude, they average 10 steals a game and 5 blocks a game. This is going to be a really, really tough game and a really good measuring stick again for the Sixers. 2 games in a row, honestly. So that's going to put them at 5 of their first 6 games against really tough opponents. We're going to continue to learn more about this team. And the question will be, can the Philadelphia 76ers handle the length and the athleticism of those Toronto Raptors? I mean, I don't even think the Toronto Raptors have a center on their team, technically. I mean, Precious Yeshua, OG, they kind of play those center roles. Patrick Siakam, a big power forward, Boucher. They don't even really have a true center. I don't know who's going to guard Pascal Siakam tonight. Will it be Tobias Harris? Will you put some combination of Harrell or Paul Reed on him and run one of those lineups with one of those and Joel Embiid on the court at the same time? I don't know. But I'm not really sure what the Sixers have to do tonight to match this up. Scotty Barnes most likely will not be playing. He's day-to-day, but reports a day or two ago were that he's not going to play in the game. Willie, we'll see. It'll be a game-time decision probably. I would feel a little bit more confident in the Sixers' chances if Scotty Barnes didn't play. One of the great young players in this league. I really love what Scotty Barnes can become in this NBA. There's a reason why the Nets wanted him in a Kevin Durant trade. If they would have gotten him, there was a lot of talk between the Nets and the Raptors for Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant didn't want to go to Toronto, but Scotty Barnes was leaving Toronto. Yeah, Scotty Barnes is going to be the real deal one someday. He's averaging 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.5 steals, a block a game. The guy's the real deal. Really like what he brings to the table. But you still got Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent. I mean, this team is a deep, deep team. I'm hoping the Sixers can pull out a win tonight. I really am. I think they can pull out a win. They definitely better get one of these 2 games, tonight and Friday. No one will be watching Friday's game. If they want to make a statement, excuse me. If they want to make a statement, it's got to be tonight. Because Friday night, everybody's watching baseball. It'll be the lowest watched Sixers game on Friday night of all time with the Phillies game 1 of the World Series. There's no chance anybody's tuning into that Sixers game while the Phillies are playing. So they got to make the statement tonight. Can they do it? I don't know. I'm just really concerned with our defense so far this year. Just the lack of identity that their defense has. Joel Embiid wants to be this elite guy on defensive end. You know, he said you're going to put 4 full quarters together every game. Hasn't done it yet. He has not put 4 full quarters together. I don't even know if he's put 2 full quarters together yet this year. And you're going up against a team that you got to play great defense against. You're going up against a team that's got really long, athletic wings that can get by you. Tobias Harris, I mean, he's improved drastically. And in the last couple times we played Toronto, he's played really well defensively against Giannis and Patrick Siakam, those type of long, athletic power forwards. He's gotten so much better defensively against those guys. But he's got to do it again tonight. PJ Tucker can't do it. I mean, PJ Tucker was regulated to 20-ish, low 20 minutes last game, and that's where he should be. Do we see some more Matisse tonight? I mean, Matisse saw like 3 minutes in the last game against Indy, 4 minutes. That was more than he had in the first 3 games combined. So maybe we get a little bit more Matisse run. I already saw it in the last game against Indy, and I think we're going to start to see it more as the season goes on. That Doc Rivers is still the coach, because still saying, guys, Doc's not the answer. We go 0-2 in Toronto, there's a chance that Doc Rivers doesn't make it back to Philly. At least in my opinion, it's the way it should be. But you're going to start to see, you saw George Niang's minutes all of a sudden tick back up. You saw Shake Milton get some burn in the second quarter. You're going to see, if we continue to struggle, him resorting back to last year's squad versus the new guys. And these new guys, Daniel House, D'Anthony Melton, Montrezl Harrell, some high potential, some questionable moves. But Doc's going to go back to what he knew from last year, which means these new guys aren't going to get into any rhythm with Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, and there needs to be that. But can I plead with Doc? If Doc's watching, Doc's not watching, but can I plead with Doc Rivers for 1 minute? Please. You said it last year. You said it mid-last year. You said it in the offseason. You said at the beginning of the season that there'll be 2 stars on the court at all times, 2 of your big 4. In every single game, there's multiple stretches where you have either James Harden, Joel Embiid, or Tyrese Maxey on the court by themselves with 4 bench guys. It does not work. You've got 4 superstars. There's 48 minutes in a game. You can make sure that 2 of those guys are on the court at all times. You said you're going to do it, but you never do it. I don't get it. I don't. You can do it. Do it. Do it. Doc. It all comes down to Doc. And these guys, whether they're buying in or not. And do the Sixers win tonight? Like I said, When I make my same game parlay for tonight, let me tell you something. There won't be a money line bet in it. There won't be a point spread bet in because I just don't have a feeling or a vibe on this team yet. And what I do have is very negative. So will they win? Hopefully. Again, this is the night to win. When all eyes will be on them. There's no other thing going on tonight. Tonight's the night to win. Friday night, they lose tonight, they'll win Friday. No one's going to see the Friday game. We won't even talk about the Friday game on this show on Monday. We'll be talking Phillies and Eagles. Man. Sorry, guys. I've been coughing a lot this morning. I'll get that cleaned up for tomorrow morning. I'm actually going to wrap the show up a little early this morning so you don't hear me cough anymore. But again, trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. Again, special shout out to my man Chris Romanelli at ChrisRome731 on Twitter. Make sure you shoot him a follow. We'll be back tomorrow. Neil Coulon, Pittsburgh, he covers the Pittsburgh Steelers for the NFL Wire. We're going to spend tomorrow talking Eagles, talking Steelers game on Sunday, so that Friday show could be dedicated to this Phillies-Houston Astros World Series. Chris predicted Phillies in 6. Can't wait. I can't wait. I'm still so hyped. I'm still flying high. I'm still rolling in that Phillies energy right now. Nothing can knock me off this person. Chris said that the Eagles losing on Sunday, he didn't think like me. I think if the Phillies come back 1-1, that Philadelphia Phillies vibe is going to kind of gloss over any negativity in Philly sports. Hence why the Sixers being 1-3 at this point doesn't seem to be a big deal. If the Phillies weren't playing right now, dude, a lot more people would be like me calling for Doc Rivers' head. But the Philadelphia Phillies vibe is kind of just makes everything okay. I said, yeah, it's all good. Everything's all good. We'll see. Anyway, everybody have a great it's Wednesday, right? Yeah, it's Wednesday. Everybody have a great Wednesday. Again, I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, right here, Trending the AM. Make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, and the follow button on all social media platforms. Y'all have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 8:30 with Neil Coulon. Yo, it's still ring the bell, baby. Let's win a World Series, baby.